Welcome to Video Rental, your retro movie hub. Join us as we rewind through the iconic films of the 70s, 80s, and the occasional 90s gems. From cult classics to blockbuster hits and even some infamous flops, we're covering it all. So grab some popcorn, get cozy, and let's dive into the wonderful world of retro cinema together. So on today, we are missing a co-host. Derek was not able to join us for this episode, but we have our other co-host, Doug. How are you doing, Doug?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. And then we also have a special guest, Preston Prince.
Hello, everybody.
He is our resident music / Star Trek expert. Would you say that's accurate, Preston?
I would say I'm definitely the go-to when it comes to questions in both those departments.
The human Star Trek database?
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
In the same way you guys are the human Star Wars comic book databases, in the same way... no?
No? I don't know, man.
Because I refer my questions to y'all when it comes to those.
I don't know, man. When you talk about Star Trek,
apples?
you know things that, like, I don't know if anybody knows. I feel like sometimes you can name a character that's in the background of a certain episode. Like that was a certain actor in a certain episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's impressive.
Well, your Predator cast reminded me, the actor who wore the costume in the movie appeared in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
See, I knew it.
And he was one of those where, tons of actors, they only appeared in maybe one episode, but that was one of them. Don't remember his name, but anyway.
Okay, so on today's episode, we're doing what we like to call film clips. Preston, you haven't heard the first episode, but film clips basically is our mini episodes that we're going to be doing. This will be our second episode. We're just gonna have fun in each one, do something different in each one. Not a full movie review. Just have fun with it. So today's we're hosting the ultimate showdown, Star Wars versus Star Trek movies, and we're going to be bracketing the top 16 films to crown the ultimate champion.
The questions that need to be answered, people.
So how I came up with this bracket, we're basically we're doing the top IMDb scores between 8 Star Wars movies and 8 Star Trek movies. And
you have some very interesting face-offs here.
So I'm just gonna call off the movies we're going to be doing. So when it comes to Star Wars, we're doing Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, The Last Jedi, and Solo. And the Star Trek movies, Star Trek, 2009 Star Trek, Wrath of Khan, Into the Darkness, First Contact, The Voyage Home, Undiscovered Country, The Search for Spock, Generations. All right, you guys ready to get started with this bracket?
Absolutely.
All right. So, the very first one is going to be Empire Strikes Back versus Star Trek Generations. Doug, let's start with you.
Let's start with me, huh?
Yeah, I'm starting with you.
Well, okay. Of course, everybody is going to be rooting for Empire Strikes Back, right? Correct? Theoretically. But surprisingly enough, Generations was one of my favorite movies, as far as Star Trek goes. That I really like because it brought everybody together. Mm-hmm. It was like bringing the old with the new.
Yeah, the two generations, basically. Yeah.
That's ingenious. That's ingenious insight.
Maybe that's what they were going for.
It was a passing of the torch.
Yes.
Depiction, which was an intention in that movie.
Which it needed to happen. It still needed to happen. It's still I could watch it again. If they could bring them back together again, that would be kind of cool. But I tell you what, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring for Generations.
Oh, I appreciate that, Doug.
All right. Let's go ahead and go with you, Preston.
Well, this may be a bit of a surprise, and I will save the details because I know that this will be kind of a future topic of discussion. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, but between Empire Strikes Back and Star Trek Generations, I'm totally with Doug. Star Trek Generations is a movie that has a very special place in my heart because of the passing of the torch, but also because you had Kirk and Picard joining forces. One of my favorite moments in Generations has to be when Picard meets Kirk, but a really cool point of that scene, Picard is clearly starstruck when he sees Kirk.
Yeah.
It was a really, really cool moment. However, like I said, I'm going to save the detailed version of this. I'm going with Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
I know it's a big surprise,
Whoa.
but there's one reason which we will peel away at a later time with this. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Scott Mantz. He's a real highly respected movie critic, but he's especially a rabid Star Trek and Star Wars fan. Okay. And he's on record as saying that Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is to Star Trek what The Empire Strikes Back is to Star Wars.
Okay.
So those two movies would be a big clash of the Titans. So, and I also say that too because of the response among the fan base that both movies got. If you were to compare those responses, Generations got a big response, and I was one of those fans who, at the time it came out, I was super excited. I was really stoked about it, and it is a great movie. But these two particular movies, I would have to say Empire Strikes Back wins out.
That completely shocked me. That was a
Right?
That was a half court shot right there.
You know, honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and say this too. I was really like, well, I guess I'm the loser here, because I mean, I'm gonna actually go with Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
because I mean, I enjoy Generations, but it's Empire Strikes Back. You can't.
So you're voting for nostalgia?
No,
that's exactly what you just said.
I honestly think Empire Strikes Back is a better movie than Generations, but that's just me.
Well, another point to that too, Empire Strikes Back in my mind has always been the standard bearer for Star Wars. And while Generations has an immense amount of greatness to it in so many different ways for so many reasons, I personally, as a Star Trek fan, don't see Generations as the gold standard or the standard bearer, but it does hold strong, but not to that bracket.
Sorry, bringing your two captains together. I never. We have witnessed history, folks. I'm glad this is being recorded because.
And this is even based off
time. They're going to look back and say, "Do you remember the day?"
All right, I'm trying something new here. We didn't do it on the last bracket. I got like a little spinning thing on my phone. I'm gonna see if it actually works. Okay, Doug, we're going with you again.
Then it worked.
Oh, you put me in the red shirt over there. I see.
Are we here?
I don't know if I should be
either
worried.
one. We can go. Well, let's just do Rogue One. Rogue One and Star Trek: First Contact.
Okay. All right. This one is tougher to me than I initially thought. Of course, you got Rogue One, the whole the Millennium Falcon. You know, you get a lot of backstory there. But First Contact, where the Borg gets involved, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Man.
Gotta choose. Gotta choose, man.
I gotta plant my flag. Calm down. I'm thinking. I'm gonna go First Contact.
Okay.
Cool beans, Doug.
Rogue One was a great movie. I'm not knocking it all. I like
I'm
it.
not using this. It went back to you, Doug.
Well, was that a problem? Oh,
well, we can't go here.
Let's.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Oh.
I enjoyed Rogue One, but I feel like Rogue One was one of those one and done type of movies. Like you watch it once, it's a great movie, but I don't feel like I need to watch it again. Honestly, it's just me personally, and I love First Contact. That's just up there. Like that's up there with Empire Strikes Back for me. For Star Trek.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love it. So I'm going with First Contact.
Cool. I would say we're 3 for 3 here because I go with First Contact as well. Now I do want to say about Rogue One. Rogue One, I think we can all agree, was a really great nostalgic depiction. Came out in 2016, so it was a modern movie, but you felt like you were watching one of the original trilogy movies, or at least that's how I felt. Yeah, because you had the original look of the stormtroopers, you had all of those things, and it was a really cool kind of Vietnam kind of feel.
Yeah.
Like you felt like you were watching a movie that was meant to depict Vietnam in certain respects. So Rogue One, to me, when it comes to that, really had a lot of great things going for it. But I'm picking First Contact, not just because I'm a franchise fan, but there were things in First Contact in addition to the Borg. That was the first time we saw the Borg in cinematic form.
Mm-hmm.
We got to really see a really cool version of the Borg with the movie budget behind it.
Right.
On top of that, you had Jonathan Frakes directing the movie. That's the actor who played Commander Riker. Mm-hmm. That was his directorial debut, the first Trek movie that he directed. You also had Captain Picard in one of his most emotionally vulnerable moments when he was saying the line must be drawn here. I will make them pay for what they've done. That scene was powerful.
Yeah.
I took it personally.
Oh yeah, because he was assimilated by the Borg as well. Mm-hmm. So First Contact, really, among many Trek fans, when it comes to the next gen movies, I consider that one to be the greatest of the next gen bracket.
Yeah.
And so I would rank that over Rogue One.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. I'm gonna try it one more time. All right. So, Preston, let's go with you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let's go. Let's do A New Hope versus Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock.
Now see that's tough. Because obviously, I mean, New Hope kicked off the Star Wars franchise, and A New Hope also kind of lit the spark for Gene Roddenberry and crew to put Star Trek on the big screen.
Yeah.
Now that was the motion picture, and I know we're talking about the third installment. And also too, there's that little bit of a curse in the Trek franchise that the odd numbered movies don't quite do as well. However, 3, I feel, is one of the best, if not the best, of the odd numbered movies. Mm-hmm. That was Leonard Nimoy's directorial debut. Spock comes back. Kirk has some really vulnerable moments with the death of his son David.
Yeah.
So again, this is going to be the same surprise as Generations, but I will go with A New Hope, because you have the establishment of something really great. Whereas Star Trek 3, it was a great movie, but I feel like it was just kind of a carrier, more so than that.
Right.
So yeah, New Hope.
All right. Okay, I'm going next.
Yay!
So I do. It's been a while since I've seen Search for Spock. I mean, I actually still remember it very well. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's probably been 20 years since I've seen it. Oh yeah,
you definitely need to rewatch.
But I'm sorry, but A New Hope. That's what I'm going with. A New Hope is just like you said. It's the beginning of Star Wars. It's just you can't. Yeah. I mean, it's just it is what it is. It's just
funny tidbit about Star Trek 3. You have Christopher Lloyd as the Klingon commander in there, Commander Krug. A new 3 came out in 1984, and if you think about it, Christopher Lloyd was in command of a time machine a year before Back to the Future came out.
Yeah. Nice.
So anyway, just wanted to throw that in.
Doug, what were you gonna?
I mean,
what were you gonna go with?
I gonna have it? Not that you can.
I know, but what were you gonna go with?
Well, I remember. I have fond memories of Search for Spock because when he come back, that was like a big deal for my dad. My dad was a big Star Trek fan, so when Spock came back, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was something we enjoyed together. I'm gonna go search for Spock.
Okay.
Wow, Doug, I'm impressed.
All right.
Thumb of votes. What I grew up with.
Okay. Okay, so let's do Revenge of the Sith versus Star Trek Into the Darkness.
Into Darkness.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just Into Darkness, but that's
excuse
okay.
me. Excuse me, Mr. Expert.
That's
here.
why you've got me.
Wow, we have Preston.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm getting confused. Which one is
Into Darkness is where Benedict Cumberbatch
Khan.
is Khan.
Khan?
Yeah.
Okay. I really actually love Into Darkness. I think personally, I think it's the best one out of the J.J. Abrams universe trilogy.
Derek's with you on that one.
I remember seeing it in theaters. It was just amazing. I think him as Khan was just awesome.
Great job.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. It's grown with me over time. It is one of the prequels. So I'm gonna go with Into the Darkness or Into Darkness.
Come on, Nathan, get it right.
Doug, let's go with you next.
Well, I tell you what I'm gonna do. We just discussed this movie, and I'm going Into Darkness. I mean, there's not. I love that version of it. It was just amazing to see. I love the way J.J. Abrams was going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed it. So that's where I'm going.
And lens flares.
Lens flares.
You have the J.J. Abrams lens flares.
I loved it.
Preston, what's your thoughts?
All right.
It doesn't really matter,
So,
unfortunately, but
when it comes to these two particular movies, the one thing I can think of that is such an easy decider for me is my name is Khan versus you underestimate my power. So Star Trek Into Darkness.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
No,
There are great things about Revenge of the Sith, so I can't dog it completely, especially. I do think Revenge of the Sith had some of the absolute coolest lightsaber sequences ever. And I mean that seriously.
I could see that.
But yeah, in this case, Into Darkness.
Okay. Let's do Return of the Jedi. Darkness moves on. So let's do Return of the Jedi versus Star Trek VI Undiscovered Country.
Now that's a matchup.
And Preston, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, this one I do have to do the fan bias and go with Star Trek VI. Now you did make this a tough call.
Yeah.
Even though I'm going with Star Trek VI, Star Trek VI versus Return of the Jedi, both of those are send-offs. Both of those are, in their way, somewhat of a finale as far as that story thread for each side of the aisle, Star Trek and Star Wars. So emotionally, I feel similar connections to both of those movies, but definitely Star Trek VI, partly because it was a clear send-off, and it was a send-off that the original crew deserved.
Right.
And really amazing closures in the movie, and just kind of giving them that last chance to really shine. And on top of that, when I was mentioning Star Trek II was like Empire Strikes Back to each franchise, for VI, they brought back Nicholas Meyer to direct that, who's the same guy who did 2.
Okay.
We'll discuss more of that later, but those are some reasons why I'm going with 6.
Okay. Doug, we'll go with you.
Man. Okay. I have mixed feelings about the Undiscovered Country. Trying to figure out how to articulate this. This is more that Dead Space. Right?
While you're thinking on that, the other reason too is one of the best quotes in Star Trek history comes from that movie where the Klingon Chancellor Gorkin says, "You've not experienced Shakespeare until you've read him in the original Klingon."
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
One of the best lines in the history of the franchise.
On this one here, you know, I'm up to go to Return of the Jedi on this one. Undiscovered Country, I mean, I get it as a fan, and I saw where they were going with it, but I mean, I don't know. I just wasn't as big a fan of it. You know,
Right.
You don't ask the Almighty for his ID. You know.
Now that was 5. that was 5. That wasn't 6.
Oh, this is the one where.
This is 6 is where the Federation and the Klingons negotiate their peace treaty.
Oh, they all
because
they all get drunk at the very beginning of it on the ale, right? Romulan.
Oh, and yeah, at the dinner, they did have Romulan ale, and Chang tried to blame part of that for Dr. McCoy not being able to save the life of the Chancellor, when in reality he simply didn't know Klingon anatomy.
Right.
It's the one where Kirk and Spock get captured into like prison, right? That
McCoy, yeah.
Oh,
the Klingon prison planet.
Okay, yeah.
Because he and McCoy
again.
Yeah,
it's been a while since.
You're good, because they boarded the ship.
Yeah.
Right after it was attacked.
Yeah.
And because they were escorting the Klingons to Earth for the peace conference.
Yeah.
They had dinner. The Klingons returned to the ship.
And they blamed Kirk for the...
Yeah, because those 2 torpedoes, which they originally thought the Enterprise was firing them, found out later it wasn't, but General Chang, who was that bald Klingon, he was using that to frame Kirk and McCoy. And just real quick, the overall conspiracy was to keep the hostilities going,
right,
and not make peace. So that was part of the premise.
And they had that bird of prey that could fire while
there
cloaked.
You go. Yep, yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Preston, what did you say?
I said Star Trek 6.
And you said Return? Okay. I am going with Return. I mean, I'm sorry, but I do remember enjoying 6, but that's Return of the Jedi.
No, I get
Return
it.
of the Jedi is just like...
I mean, I'm the first to say that this is a genuinely tough call.
Yeah.
This really was.
Return of the Jedi, I've actually probably seen Return of the Jedi more than the other Star Wars movies. I mean, that was just my go-to. I wouldn't even have to watch the other Star Wars movies. I could just go straight to Return of the Jedi and watch it.
That is my favorite of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Is my personal favorite.
Yeah. So Return of the Jedi moves on. All right. So let's do The Last Jedi versus Wrath of Khan. And if this doesn't go in the way that it should go,
fun,
then we might have a fight in here. Okay.
I love you guys.
All right. I think I'll go, and I'm going to just go ahead and go with Wrath of Khan.
All right, Nathan.
Go ahead and get Last Jedi off the board. I'm going with Wrath of Khan.
That was quick.
Doug, let's go with you.
Wow. I'm going to vote The Last Jedi just because you don't want me to do it.
Doug's being a little rebel.
I'm going
Get
against
out.
the grain. I'm going against the grain. Yeah, take that.
Are you really going with Last Jedi?
Yeah, take it. Yeah.
Preston, please.
All right, now
you're my hope, man. You're the new hope here.
Well, I'm about to deliver. So obviously, Wrath of Khan over Last Jedi. There will be obviously lots of discussion on this at a later time, but the Wrath of Khan is the greatest Star Trek movie of all time. I'll unfold that further.
Okay.
When we discuss it, but I'll Star Trek 2 all the way.
All right. So Wrath, Doug, is moving on. So let's do Force Awakens versus Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Preston, let's start with you.
Star Trek 4.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I want to be clear, because I do know... because it is very obvious it can come across as fan bias, because I know a certain individual sitting in this room has accused me of defending Star Trek no matter what, even though I can see how
there was video format here.
No,
Doug's
I do see how that theory could hold some water, because I am that rabid about it. However, in this case, Star Trek 4 is one of those, because y'all heard me mention Star Trek 2 is the greatest of them all. Most fans, including myself, agree there. Star Trek 4 tends to be the fan favorite.
Right.
And a lot of that is because 2, 3, and 4 are considered kind of the only trilogy, because they all connect story-wise.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right.
Part 1 didn't connect with them?
Does part 1 even exist?
Yeah. No, one is there. So with Star Trek 4, it not only kind of puts a cap on top of it, but that was what we nicknamed the Save the Whales movie.
Right, yeah.
Because that was in some ways that was Star Trek in its purest form, because you didn't necessarily have a villain. It was just a kind of a misunderstood villain that was the probe that traveled to Earth because the humpback whales went extinct. This unknown race of beings sent this probe to find out why they lost contact.
Yeah.
They go back in time using Christopher Lloyd's time machine / bird of prey. See where I was going with that. And they bring George and Gracie, which are the two whales. So the concept of that story was so uniquely creative, I think. So that's a big reason why, for me, that wins out.
Okay. I'm going to go next.
Go ahead. See what you got.
I mean, I already know what you're going to say, just out of defiance. But I am going to say Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. That was actually, when I was a kid, that one was actually the one I enjoyed the most, even more than Wrath of Khan. I liked the fact that they went back in time and went to these people from the, 23rd century?
Yeah, 23rd century, and they traveled back to 1986.
Yeah, to me, seeing these future people going back to the 80s is just like, it's awesome. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines before they come off the Bird of Prey into 1980s San Francisco is when Admiral Kirk says, "This is an extremely paranoid and primitive culture."
Yeah.
I loved that line.
I think one of my favorites is when Scotty is trying to show those guys how to make
aluminum.
Yeah, he's trying to make
transparent aluminum.
He keeps on like he's like, computer.
He picks up the mouse and
use the mouse. Use the mouse.
Computer.
Hello, computer. It's use the keyboard. Oh yeah, it's great.
Great lines.
So I'm going with 4.
Well, and see, 4 was kind of meant to be a breath of fresh air from everything that took place in 2 and 3.
Yeah,
because 2 and 3 both were very serious things that happened between Khan and Spock's death and Kirk losing his son and the Enterprise. We could go on, but that's what Star Trek 4 was meant to be. Our breath of fresh air.
Doug, what were you going with? And it doesn't really matter.
For one thing, how dare you? One, The Force Awakens. Come on.
No.
I know how much you like that movie.
Oh, here we
I
go.
You've rewatched it several times. It's one of your favorite.
I'm pretty sure.
All you want.
I'm pretty sure I took a dump in my pants after I watched that movie.
Tattoo.
Oh, that's pretty.
Calm down.
Okay, yeah, I took it there. That's right.
Okay, let's get real.
Okay.
Force Awakens was the crappiest Star Wars movie ever. I wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan.
I wouldn't say it's the crappiest, but
I watched it once. That was enough.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The Voyage Home. You got Spock with a headband on. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
the bathrobe.
Awesome.
And he mind melds with a whale.
Yeah.
Yes. Come on.
That
it's
was
the
cool.
Voyage Home. My favorite.
All right. So Voyage Home moves on. So we got Solo versus Star Trek 2009, J.J. Abrams. I'll go first. Solo was a lot better than what people give it. I think it was very underrated. Even though it's probably the worst. Was it financially the worst Star Wars movie ever?
It did flop. Yeah.
I mean, it was just bomb, but it's so much better than what people say it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't really beat that J.J. Abrams Star Trek 2009. That's just he reinvented. I feel like he reinvented Star Trek.
He did, and that's also where you finally have the budget that it deserved.
Right. So I'm gonna go with 09 Star Trek.
Cool.
Doug, let's go with you. With your disappointment face. I didn't even have to look at you.
Solo was great, but by this point here, when they were banking on they cast well. I mean, Millennium Falcon was great, but I think everybody was getting a bad taste in their mouth due to the way Disney was doing. So, yeah, and J.J. Abrams delivered. So, Star Trek did.
All right. doesn't really matter, Preston, but what were you going to go with?
No, you're right. But I mean, this will be 3 for 3. Obviously, Star Trek '09. Now, I am with y'all about Solo. I do think it is a little bit better than what people give it a rap for. But between that and Star Trek '09, I don't. Definitely Star Trek '09.
Okay. All right. So on to round 2. So we're gonna first one is Empire Strikes Back versus A New Hope. Preston, let's start with you.
Empire Strikes Back, hands down. Now, tough call between both of those because both of those are great, but Empire, definitely.
Okay. Doug?
Empire.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to go with Empire. So let's go First Contact versus The Darkness. Or no, Into Darkness.
Into Darkness, Nate, come on.
I'll go first. So, as much as I love Darkness, it's such an amazing movie. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna go with First Contact. First Contact was just I could watch it 100 more times. I mean, I don't know. It's just I think the Borg. I always had a thing for the Borg because I was a big Next Generation watcher. Mm-hmm. I've seen all the Star Trek shows for the most part, but Next Generation, the Borg, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, Cumberbatch,
yeah. Cumberbund is a nickname.
You're going to make Preston's vein.
He did such an amazing job at playing Khan.
He did.
But I'm going with First Contact.
Yeah.
Preston, let's go with you.
First Contact. Now, I'm with you on everything about Into Darkness. Cumberbatch was amazing, and he was even sort of kind of like the second choice. Benicio del Toro was actually supposed to play the part of Khan. He was even offered the role, and I want to say that his role in Guardians of the Galaxy conflicted with the filming schedule of Into Darkness.
Yeah.
So it was back to the drawing board, and that's where they got Cumberbatch in. So, but I'm with Star Trek First Contact for kind of the reasons I mentioned before between the Borg, Picard, all that.
Doug?
So both of you went First Contact.
We both went First Contact. What were you going to go with?
I was going Into Darkness.
Okay, well, you suck.
Oh,
so,
going to the dark side, and we're not even in Star Wars.
Okay, so next one is Return of the Jedi versus Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Doug, let's start with you.
Darth? Wow,
Darth Doug.
The Voyage Home has a lot more nostalgia for me because, like I said, that was something I enjoyed with my father.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I really liked Return of the Jedi. I'm going Voyage Home.
Okay.
Ooh, check it out.
Upset. I'll go. So I am gonna go with Jedi. I grew up watching Star Trek 4, but Jedi is I think it's just a better movie for me. So I'm going with Jedi. Preston?
Surprisingly enough, because I got to be honest about it, but I'm going with Jedi because I just feel like Return of the Jedi made relatively bigger waves.
Yeah.
It had a bigger effect. As awesome as 4 is, like I said, it's a fan favorite. Mm-hmm. It's one of my personal favorites. I love how in many ways it is. Yeah. And in many ways, in Star Trek 4, you have moments, a lot of moments that would be considered Star Trek in its purest form. Mm-hmm. But it didn't have that same impact, I think. Right. So if I'm going to be honest with myself, Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So what we're saying here is Preston is a lot more of a closet Star Wars fan than he's ever let on.
It's just what's on this list.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay, so next one is Wrath of Khan versus '09 Star Trek. Preston, let's start with you.
Wrath of Khan. Definitely Wrath of Khan. As great as '09 was, and part of what makes this sort of a tough call, in '09, Spock repeats that line that he made in Wrath of Khan, "I have been as I always shall be your friend," which, I will be honest, made me misty-eyed when I saw Star Trek '09. Yeah. But Wrath of Khan, like I said before, it is the greatest of all the Star Trek movies, it is the standard bearer, and more on this later, but Wrath of Khan influenced everything that came after it. And in many ways, we have Wrath of Khan to thank for pretty much anything that came after it. Okay. So, yeah.
Doug?
Okay. I'm going to go Star Trek 09.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shocker.
All right.
Nathan?
Why is this up to me?
You thought you were going to put it off on me.
Why is this up to me?
Plant your flag.
Somebody's going to hate me. Somebody's going to hate me.
You will make enemies with one and friends with the other.
Yeah.
The decision of a lifetime.
Oh, it really is. I'm going with Star Trek 09.
Oh.
Nathan! Whoa!
I'm sorry. I think it's just because I didn't really grow. I liked Wrath of Khan, but I didn't really grow up watching it. If it would have came down to Star Trek 4 and Wrath of Khan, I probably would have chose Star Trek 4.
Sure.
Over Wrath
Interesting.
of Khan.
Was it the wax chest? Is that what didn't do it?
So
wax chest.
Star Trek 09 moves on.
Wow.
Sorry,
Now,
Preston.
Well, no, I actually kind of get it. I don't know if this went through your mind, Nathan, when you were deciding, but for me, Star Trek 09 was the first time in almost 20 years where Leonard Nimoy reprises his role as Spock. That was a huge deal. And Leonard Nimoy himself was known to be extremely choosy about whether or not he would accept a role as Spock in any depiction. He did have multiple opportunities throughout the years following Undiscovered Country where he did turn down depicting Spock. So the fact that he accepted the role and took that on was huge.
And Preston, I will let you know in a couple weeks or whatever, you'll find out more about Wrath of Khan from me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, so that was that round.
Call a teaser, ladies and gentlemen.
So we got our next round is Empire Strikes Back versus Return of the Jedi.
Final four people.
Mm-hmm.
I will go, and I'm gonna go with Jedi. That's what I am going with.
I noticed how you went first. Was that planned? Was that?
Doug, do you want to go next?
Okay. Return of the Jedi. It's Empire.
Okay. Preston?
While I believe that Empire Strikes Back is the greatest of them all, I'm going with Return of the Jedi because of
curve.
I like how it ended, and I like how it flowed. And plus, this is a personal stake for me. Jedi has my number one favorite Star Wars character, which is Admiral Akbar.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I love Admiral Akbar. I remember being a kid just thinking that was the coolest looking. Yeah, I remember thinking that was the absolute coolest looking character, alien, whatever, that I'd ever seen in my life. So, Return of the Jedi.
Okay. All right. So we got First Contact versus 09 Star Trek. Doug, let's start with you.
Nope. No.
Come on, Doug.
I knew when he shifted his eyes this way.
He complained about the last bracket.
Blah, blah, blah,
how I was going to different people.
On, Doug.
Well, you're leaving me last.
You're doing a lot of this. Need more of this.
What do you choose, Doug?
Let's have it.
First Contact versus 09 Star Trek.
First Contact.
Okay.
All right. Preston, we'll go with you.
I'm with Doug on this one. Star Trek First Contact. A lot of reasons I had already mentioned previous to that. But now both of these movies definitely are head to head in my book. Wow. So nothing bad on '09, but yeah, definitely First Contact.
Well, I was gonna go with First Contact as well. As much as I love '09 Star Trek, First Contact, there's not much that can even beat First Contact. That's just like
some of Patrick Stewart's greatest acting ever as Picard took place in First Contact.
Yeah.
Well, Star Trek '09, it was just so visual.
Mm-hmm.
It really was.
All that with the Enterprise and stuff, and that's what made it great for me.
One consideration on that, too, is, as I mentioned, Jonathan Frakes directed First Contact. Mm-hmm. So he's a member of that crew. He was already with Star Trek for many, many years. I do believe J.J. Abrams did an excellent job with '09 and Into Darkness.
Definitely.
But he's more of a Star Wars fanboy.
Yeah.
And some of those things showed, not in a bad way, in '09. It's just, for me, I felt that Jonathan Frakes had his finger more so on the pulse of things. But again, that was because that was already group chemistry working in his favor.
Right. Well, and also, just real quick, you also got to think about it like this. Wouldn't you say First Contact is Next Generation's first movie?
Full movie.
First full movie. I know they were in Generations also,
Yes.
but it was a shared movie.
Yeah, you could say that
First Contact is their first movie.
Yes, I fully agree on that, because in my mind, and in the mind of many fans, Generations was meant as a passing of the torch from Kirk to Picard, or the original crew to the next gen. Yeah.
And '09 Star Trek is pretty much, I'm not down in it at all, but it's a remake.
Yeah, it is. It's a reboot. It's a remake.
No, just listen. So that's why I think that's another reason why First Contact for me is a better movie.
So you're saying '09 Star Trek is a remake of Star Trek the Motion Picture?
Sure.
Ooh, ouch.
I mean,
really?
I mean, they definitely did a better job.
Here's what I would say to that. '09 was meant as a reboot, but they also wanted a way to carry the story while going back to an original series look and feel with the original characters. So the mindset was, we can do that by way of creating the alternate Kelvin timeline, is what we call it. So creating that timeline allowed them to pull from all those story threads.
Okay, well, here's another way to look at it.
Forget Thor was in it.
'09 Star Trek is a remake or a reimagining of the original series.
You could say that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. So, final round.
Here we go.
Championship.
Final round. All right. So we've got Return of the Jedi versus Star Trek First Contact.
No, we got Empire Strikes Back.
Huh?
What?
Return of the Jedi, Doug.
Jedi won because he chose Jedi and I chose Jedi.
Oh, that was
your loser round.
Two's more than one.
Anyways, okay, so Preston, let's go with you first.
All right. Like I said, Return of the Jedi had an amazing send-off. Lots of awesome things happened in it. My favorite character of all time in Star Wars is in it. And then, of course, Star Trek First Contact. I'm going to go with First Contact on this one. Because, like we said before, that was Next Gen's establishment of full feature for them. It was all about them. We had Picard in some of his most vulnerable moments and some of his greatest moments. We had Data becoming even closer to exploring humanity. Yep. We see the introduction of the Borg Queen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was a big one. So a lot of those things that were established, and plus what was really cool, we got to witness First Contact with the Vulcans in that movie. Yeah. We got to see the moment, because a lot of people don't, who just, if you don't know the details of how they made the Star Trek storyline, when you come down to the technicality, Star Trek is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Because World War III takes place in the mid to late 21st century. And so the Earth is obliterated because of nuclear warfare from the Third World War. And Earth is pretty much at its lowest point when Zefram Cochrane invents warp drive. So we get to see the moment that changes Earth for the better, carrying it into what happens in all of Star Trek. So those are a lot of reasons why I'm with that.
So you're going with First Contact?
I'm going with First Contact. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
That's fine. Doug, let's go with you.
Really? Okay. Return of the Jedi. You got Luke as master.
Mm-hmm.
You get Jar Jar, not Jar Jar, but
What?
Wrong. Right?
Man.
Made enough, we'll make enough
What
people
movie
mad
you
with
thinking
me
of?
with this one.
That's a random mix.
Jabba.
Yeah.
I'm looking down. At the
A bit of a size
right
difference
now.
there.
It's actual right in front of us.
So you're going with Jedi?
Shut up! Don't put thoughts in my mind.
Ouch, Nathan.
How
Bring me Solo and the Wookiee.
do we want to just What's your thoughts? Let's hear some of your thoughts before we hear your final vote.
No.
Before I give
you
my
give your final vote, Doug. You're breaking the rules, sir.
If I
Yeah.
give my vote, it could be over.
If Derek were here, he would say, form your own opinion.
Yes.
He would say just that.
Form your own.
Form your own opinion.
Nathan. Okay.
Come on, Doug.
I'm
This is all the dead space I have to take out.
Oh, man, I'm starting to feel your pain here.
complicated.
Doug's nickname should be the editor because he causes you to have to edit lots
You're
of
putting
stuff.
all this on me. I'm just going to throw one for return and then put it back on you.
So you're going with Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you have to be the tiebreaker.
So
Let's hear some thought process. Oh, is that Dead Space?
it's not Dead Space. I'm actually talking. You can actually hear my gears grinding. Yours is like.
You need to lubricate them things.
I am gonna go with.
Go that fast.
Yes, I'm going that fast.
Here we go.
going
Here we
fast.
go.
As much as I love First Contact, I'm going with Jedi.
All right.
Jedi.
Hey.
Jedi was just—it's an all-time favorite movie of mine.
Take back my vote.
Very nostalgic. I love First Contact, but I don't think it holds
There was
up
a foul
to Jedi.
on mine.
I still love you guys.
So
I'm going back First Contact.
So
Too
Return
late.
of the Jedi is
Jedi.
the champion of them all.
Jedi is the winner.
How about that?
See, wasn't that better than doing separate brackets, Star Wars like that? I think that was better.
That, I will say, that really put me to the test
Yeah.
for very obvious reasons. But I like how you did that.
Yeah.
Because it really, at
Thank
least for
you,
me,
Preston.
I felt like I
did
really had to
not.
hone my skills.
Doug did
Yeah.
nothing. Thank you, Preston.
Yeah.
All right. You guys got anything else before we close out?
No, just I just want to say I love the theme music you've got on here. I thought that was pretty cool, but and all your really cool sound effects. I like that. But no, this was, I really like having to kind of do the whole Star Trek versus Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Well, thanks, Doug. Thanks for joining us, Preston.
My pleasure.
We'll see you guys next time. You suck, Doug.